everybody. So Swami Shiva Shankariyananda is going to introduce our speaker for tonight.
Om Namah Shivaya, thank you for joining us for our Christmas carols. And now we have a double treat by having Swamini Svatmavidyananda with us this evening. She's a longtime friend of the ashram. She's an excellent Vedanta teacher, very witty, very loving, very clear teacher. She's a disciple of Svatmavidyananda and teaches all over the place, but right now she's in India because of COVID, but otherwise she would be 2 days here, 3 days there, and we're lucky to have her with us. So Swamini, welcome, Merry Christmas, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Namaste. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak, and not just to speak, to join this wonderful celebration, very heartening and uplifting, which is what we want, and which is what is transforming. And thank you, Swami Shiva Shankari, for the introduction. So nicely said, but I don't know if I am, if I am clear. It is the grace of the Guru, and everything is because of the teacher, and the teachers of the lineage is what make one great. That is basically what the message of Vedanta is. And I know from my association with the Sivananda Ashram, the message of the Sivananda Ashram is also the same. We bask in the glow of the tradition, we bask in the glow of the teachers. We shine in that light, and we make that light our own. And so the topic for today was given to me, very wonderful topic. I was very delighted to see this topic. What is that? Vedanta, Jesus, Vedanta, Christianity, Vedanta, whatever it is something after my heart. How can it not be? Because when we stop, spirituality starts when organized religion stops. That is basically the message. That was the message of Jesus, really. I mean, he did not set out to have some kind of a organized, I'm going to start a religion and I'm going to do this. No. In fact, he was trying, just like the saints and the sages of India, he was trying to make people break away from some kind of a routinized and a mindless orthodoxy. And this is what happens. And the Bhagavad Gita therefore promises that from time to time, when spirituality is forgotten, the word for spirituality, the Sanskrit word for spirituality is dharma. Dharma, a code of conduct that is for the welfare and the benefit of all. Dharma, a commitment to certain way of being and living that is in keeping with the value system of the universe, that is desired by the whole universe, the golden rule. In other words, I do unto others I want to be done towards me. Dharma, the universal matrix of norms, that is like an umbrella under which we crave to stand so that we are protected and cherished. Dharma, the manifestation of God in the Hindu tradition is dharma. It's not a mandate of God, it's a manifestation of God. Dharma is Ishvara, Bhagavan. Dharma is Shiva. Dharma is Vishnu. And so therefore, this is, so Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata. Very famous words, famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Whenever this dharma is glani, forgotten, neglected, or the people's competing prejudices and preferences team up individually and collectively to suppress the voice of this dharma, to suppress the road of dharma, to litter the road of dharma with the thorns of raga and dvesha, with the thorns of unmanageable desires. Then what happens? Then whenever that happens, the promise is given. Abhyutthanam adharmasya atmanam srijami aham. In order to reset, to press the reboot button on the universe, so that there is some kind of a coming back to ourselves, coming back to the innate desire to follow what is correct, to follow what is right, to live in harmony with others. This is all an inbuilt desire. Dharma is inbuilt unless something eclipses it and forces one to go against it. So the desire to live in harmony with my fellow beings and with other beings, jivas in the universe, and with other things in the universe, that's an innate craving. It's an uncultivated desire, unlike chocolate cake, which is a cultivated desire. Blue cheese, cultivated desire. When I first came to America, I just was surprised because, I said, what is this? Because it was very unfamiliar to me. And they said, it is a special kind of a fungus, cheese with fungus. I said, things with fungus should be avoided. No, this is very expensive and very much beloved. And, it's a cultivated taste. And so many things are a cultivated desire. But the longing to be one with everything, in harmony with everything, is uncultivated. It's already there. One is hardwired for this harmony. In other words, one is hardwired for this oneness. One is hardwired for moksha, freedom from this sense of fighting and striving against everything. One is already there. And so therefore what? So whenever one forgets to connect to this longing, it's not that one forgets, other things overpower. The pressure exerted by urgent desires. And here too a note, it's not that desire is wrong. We never say control the desires. Just like anger cannot be controlled, desires also cannot be controlled. They have to be managed. So likewise, we are talking of unmanaged, unmanageable desires that cast a pall on the natural tendency of the human being to do what is correct, to do what is right, to live in harmony with oneself, with the universe, and with the source of the universe, the Lord. So whenever this aberration happens, each time Lord Krishna says, in order to press the reboot button collectively, to give a chance to the people to reboot and come back to themselves, come back to connecting to this longing, come back to do something about this longing. Like this wonderful satsang that has been organized, which so far I have really enjoyed, and like all these programs, learning together, seeking together, seeking to do something and to connect something greater than these raga and dvesha, these strong preferences and prejudices that threaten to throttle the spiritual tendencies. So Bhagavan Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita that whenever there is this kind of a neglect of dharma, I will repeatedly come back to remind humanity and to set things right. To set things right. We have to set things right because, there is an imbalance. Adharma is on the rise and then dharma is stifled, strangulated, and then so in order to set things right, I will take an incarnation. This is what the whole thing is. I will take an incarnation in the world of mortals. This is the promise. Bhagavad Gita, like that, has many verses of promises. Name bhaktah pranashyati, a devotee of mine is never destroyed. All these kinds of promises are there. I will carry the burden of your wants and needs. That is also a promise. So this is also a promise. And this is something which is very beautiful. And so therefore, in the Hindu tradition, we have no problem at all revering saints, sages as avatars, no matter where they come from and within which religious rubric they are housed. It doesn't matter to us. In fact, everything is an avatara anyway. This is the tradition. Everything is an avatara. And since everything is an avatara, we look upon everything as Bhagavan. And then we have no problem stretching that attitude of reverence that is directed against each and every aspect of creation to the saints and sages who clearly are guides for humanity. They are guides not because they have large followings on Twitter or what have you. They are guides not because they are famous and you can Google them and then 17 pages will come and they have a, what is that called, Wikipedia entry. That's not why they are guides. They are not guides because they have huge ashrams and many branches because they are rich. No. They are guides because they have managed to transform people to follow their highest good. That is why they are revered. It could be some, person, a simply sitting Swami somewhere in the Himalayas who, lives in a small hut with a thatched roof, who hasn't been heard of, but who knows and who teaches a few people that come to him or her. It could be a sadhu sitting in the Himalayas. It could be somebody who is outside of the tradition. But yet, the one who has transcended orthodoxy, who has transcended the rote ways of doing and rote ways of seeing. Because this is what happens. The human mind, the ahankara, the I notion, the ego, is very ingenious, I tell you. You give it something and then it makes something else out of it in a short while. You give it an aid and then it converts that aid into a shackle. This is what happens. Often this is what happens. Here, do some puja. This is revealed by the Shastra, do some puja. And this is how to do the puja. Offer flowers, offer incense, say Archana, offer 108 names, and then after that what? Offer Arati, ring a bell. This is puja. It is just like it is similar to a Catholic mass. There are certain things. Offer libations, the pouring of water, all these things. And then at the end there is prasada. Even in the Catholic mass, you take communion. It is a kind of a prasada. It comes directly from Bhagavan. So all this is there. But then very soon this can become a shackle. Very soon it does become a shackle. Because if the raga and dveshas are not interrogated, then that which is an aid to reach that that space of transcending the raga dvesha becomes another entrapment, can become another entrapment. So the puja, which is so uplifting, can become a chore. Oh no, I have to do this every day. Oh no, every day I have to light the lamp. Every day I have to offer flowers. Every day I have to pray. Every day I have to do this. What is happening? Om Namah Shivaya. Is anything happening? No, nothing is happening. This is what the Ahankara concludes. I have been saying Om Namah Shivaya for 5 years. Nothing happened. No use. This doesn't work. And I'm too scared. Okay, if it doesn't work, drop it. Dare to find something else. No, 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 no. How can I do that? I have inherited this from the parents and the grandparents and the great grandparents, and so therefore I have to keep on doing this, keep on doing this. But the heart is not there. The heart is strangulated by a barbed wire of barbed wires of resentment, fear, a rote mentality, apathy, all these things. And then how can it transform? There is a kind of a complacency that just constricts. And that is why the Bhagavad Gita talks about avatara. Avatara, ava plus tru. The one who the one who comes down, so to speak, from some other loka, some other realm, in order to help you cross. Help you cross what? Help you cross being cross all the time. That's what it amounts to. To help you cross the anger, help you cross the fear, help you cross all these things. This is what the whole thing is. And that is the spirit in which we take the life of Jesus. And just like we take the life of Adi Shankara. In fact, it was not an accident that I was talking about the life of Adi Shankara just before this in the previous class that I had to teach. So that is why we all of these sages, saints are incarnations of Bhagavan. In fact, everything, including yourself, everything is an incarnation of Bhagavan. And sometimes we have the sages and saints who are aware of their purpose who are cognizant of their purpose on earth. This is another thing that Lord Krishna reveals. He tells Arjuna, Bahuni me vyatithani, janmani tava Arjuna. You and I have had many lives, O Arjuna. I have also come many times in this universe, and then you have also come many times in this universe. There's only one difference between us. I know all those lifetimes that I have taken. You don't know which lives was yours before. You don't know all your lives. I know your lives and my life also. So the avatara is a kind of a self-aware entity that has come into the universe in order to transform. So it is self-aware of its purpose, it is self-aware of its reason for birth. But then again, we say in the Hindu tradition, karma is the reason for birth. But then how can the avatara like Jesus, Krishna, etc., how can they have karma? They don't have karma because how can they have karma? No papa, no punya, no action, no result of action. How is this possible? They don't have their own karma, that is true. But it is the karma of all the people who are praying. This is what happened when Krishna Avatara took place. All the people praying, we are tired of injustice, we are tired of just, what should I say, reveling in the worst aspects of our Prakriti, nature. We are sick and tired of all these things. Help us. Where are you? Why have you neglected us? Come. So the prayer of all the jivas, the people praying out of a sense of helplessness, out of a sense of directionlessness, creates the karma, because prayer is karma and the result of action is the avatara. So the avatara cannot have a regular human birth because it's not a regular human being. And that's why there is always a source of mystery along where the birth is concerned, and you find this in Lord Krishna, and you find this also in Lord Rama, you find it in the life of Lord Jesus as well. You find the same thing. That is why the birth is immaculate. It's so beautiful. Lord Krishna was born in a prison to perhaps metaphorically indicate that everyone is born in the prison of the notion of division, that one is separate from everything else. And then again, when we look at the birth of Jesus Christ, again, some kind of an immaculate birth. When Lord Krishna was born, there was no cry, nothing, nobody knew how he was born. And he was spirited away, taken away at birth, because his life was in danger, because his birth had been prophesied. And his uncle, who was the perpetrator of adharma, in all his life he had usurped the kingdom, and he had been the cause of making everyone oppressed. His uncle had imprisoned the parents so that he could kill all the children, but this one escaped. And similarly, in the birth of Jesus also, it's a virgin birth, and something which which we don't understand, which sometimes in the youngsters will even make fun of. How is this possible? What is happening? But this is what the whole thing is. Because it cannot be a immaculate birth, because it is not following the laws of reincarnation. It has to come from outside, and it is a body, it is a prayer body. The body of the avatara is a prayer body. And when the effect of the prayer goes, then the avatara has finished its job, and that also, the body, mind, sense complex of the avatara disappears. And of course, Bhagavan is always Bhagavan. It is revered as Bhagavan. When the person was alive, he or she was revered as Bhagavan, and after the passage of the body, still revered as Bhagavan. So we have that. This is very important, that immaculate birth, and a sense of knowing. And then there are signs. With Krishna's birth, there were signs. There was a big deluge, a thunderstorm that was, threatening to wipe out everything. And with the birth of Jesus, the stars and the star of Bethlehem beckoning. I said stars because we have a similar conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn these days, and so brightening up the evening sky. And so this is what the whole thing is. There are certain prophecies, there are certain signs, and then and it doesn't have to be some kind of a big avatara. It can be a one job avatara, like the kurma, the tortoise, the matsya, the fish, etc. And then, or it could be a many job avatara, like Rama, Krishna, even Jesus, many job avatara. And so that is something which is very important to see. And then the need for the avatara, even though we say it is going to help us cross, we have to see that the desire to cross must be there. Otherwise, from the standpoint of the human being, the heart of the human being must be open to the teachings. Otherwise, you can have the best of sages, best of the incarnations of Bhagavan coming into the lives, and then nothing happens. Business as usual. The heart has to be opened. Otherwise, the teachings are of no use at all. And so, one of the things that the avatara does is to help to open the heart. We find that in all the things. When we look at Rama, the life of Rama, it's associated with so many miracles. The sage Ahalya, through a curse, was turned into stone, through some kind of a curse, was turned into stone. And and she had this prayer: if a sage like Rama comes, if Rama comes and just even accidentally kicks me, the curse will be loosened, and I will come back to life. That's what happened. And then with Krishna, we see him flirting with the gopis. Gopis are jivas. Krishna from Krish, the one who draws unto himself, because that source of light, that source of all unconditional love, of course attracts everyone to him. It attracts, this is the source of love that attracts to itself everything. And so with Krishna also we see so many miracles, so many ways of drawing the people. With Krishna you connect at the heart level. Same thing with Jesus, you connect at the heart level. There are feelings. Because at this level alone the hurt is experienced. The hurt of samsara, the hurt of this rote, routinized way of being. Even though it might be elevating, one has lost the connection, one has lost the meaning. And so therefore what? So therefore the avatara engages the people at a heart level. They inspire people. We see this in the life of Jesus, to have shraddha, reverence, bhakti, devotion. And this heart transformation is indeed moksha, freedom. What we call moksha is growing into a person who is compassionate, discovering oneself into being an unconditionally loving and compassionate person is the definition of moksha. And moksha is not something that is outside of you. Like I said earlier, it is your inherent nature that is eclipsed by fears, pains, sorrows, and so many regrets, guilt, hurt, etc. It has to be claimed, reclaimed, rediscovered, and one has to connect with that. And the avatara, to that extent, what does it do? The avatara helps one do that by modeling that life of love. Therefore, the teachings of turn the other cheek, it's not about, being a wuss. It's not about saying that, I cannot, I'm just going to be a doormat and let everybody walk over me. No. Not that at all. It is not about any of those things. It is in fact an inner power that stops one from even trying to take charge of whatever is going on in one's life. It is a life totally given to the laws of karma. Very, very beautiful. And this is the knowledge that one has to understand in order to reclaim that compassion. And then even though we know at any given moment, one may know, I am not being compassionate enough right now. I could let this go, but I am keeping on, grating my own nerves and the nerves of another with holding on to this. Even though one knows, one is unable to drop the habit. That's why it's called a habitual orientation, viparita bhavana, to put it in Sanskrit. And this habitual orientation, one has to loosen the hold of this habitual orientation. That's why one needs the teaching of Vedanta. That is why one needs to see the avatara in motion and in action. The sages, the swamis, the saints, whoever it is, we see them and then we immediately are reminded. And the best of the saints and the sages, they are not cult figures, even though maybe later on people out of their ignorance may make them into cult figures. But they are not cult figures. They are just reminders. Looking at them is intended to have the effect of looking into a mirror. When you look into a mirror, you see a very good mirror. You see the best of yourself reflected. You see your authentic self reflected this is the example on the vyavaharika level, on the empirical level. You see yourself reflected, and then similarly, when you look into the life of sages and saints, there is a promise that is there, that has been made easy. You see what you can become. You see what you can become. You see what all is possible. You see. And you see that in the life of Rama, Krishna, Jesus. You see this very, very clearly. And that's why there are, and that's why you see that the lives of sages, saints are not a picnic. Everything doesn't go well. In fact, nothing goes well. And their purpose is not easy to accomplish. Look at the life of Lord Rama. I mean, it should have been a no-brainer. He was the eldest son. He should have been coronated the king. He was very much in love with his wife Sita. They should have ruled, and everything happily ever after. The Ramayana should have been a few sentences like this and then done. That should have been the Ramayana. Instead, we have pages and pages and pages of so many difficulties. Even being an avatara, the person is as though helpless, as though are the words here to keep in mind. As though helpless, meaning not that they are, since they are Bhagavan, why don't they change their circumstances? Why could not Lord Rama, being Bhagavan, just off with Ravana instead of just going and searching and doing all these things? Firstly, because they are in the constraints of the human body, mind, sense complex, as though. And secondly, they are teaching through going over the difficulties. They are teaching that. They're teaching that their whole life is a teaching. How they overcome the difficulties with grace, with patience, titiksha, with grace, with integrity, without giving up dharma. How they do that? We see that in the life of Rama. He follows dharma. He goes to search for his wife. He wages a rightful war to reclaim his wife. And all this we see. He makes alliances with other people and then goes with the Vanaras, and then he reclaims Mother Sita, Goddess Sita, back. We see that. And we see this same kind of a vairagya, the letting go. We see that in the life of Jesus as well. We see the same thing. So many hardships, so many difficulties, betrayals, 3 times betrayals from somebody that you thought you could completely rely on. Most people, if they had been betrayed even once in this way, they would have gone under the covers, never to emerge. Forget avatara, forget all that. I can't handle this. But he handles it. And more importantly, he knows this betrayal is coming. But he knows it is as though he knows it doesn't touch him, because he is a being that does not identify with the body, mind, sense complex. He is a self-aware person. He is that consciousness, that free, all-pervasive consciousness taking form in this body, mind, sense complex, completely self-aware of itself, its nature and its purpose. And even though he predicts the betrayal, it doesn't affect him, and nor does he take any measures to protect himself from this betrayal. Similarly, Lord Rama, he knows, if I go behind this deer, some danger may take place. He knows. That's why he sends Lakshmana back and to make this magic circle so that Sita is protected. That she transcends the magic circle and then, ends up being abducted. All this is very metaphorical, because Sita is actually standing for, that's why she's known as Vaidehi. She's standing for the peace of mind. And when peace of mind goes away, then it has to be reclaimed through the teachings, through patience. That is what the life of Lord Rama teaches. Rama is the Atma, and Sita is the embodiment of this Atma in the form of moksha, in the form of peace of mind. And if Sita departs, life is not worth living. That's why Rama hugs every tree and says, have you seen my Sita? I am bereft. He plays the role of being a bereft individual for the sake of humanity, to show us, to teach us. And this is something which is very, very beautiful. And what they teach is also, what the avatars teach is also very something, a message that is very uplifting. They may be specific teachings, but then when we look beyond the specificities, we see that same, a very similar message. A very similar message. Be the best that you can be. And you don't become small if you don't retaliate. It is a place of power. Jesus says that, and then later on Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi said that. It is a place of power. It's a place of inner strength. Not to enter into this world of divisions and strife and not to participate on that same level is a place of empowerment. Rama teaches that, Krishna teaches that. To go above the fray. That is the teaching. That is one of the teachings. Another thing that I see that has been, that is very much there is the message of some kind of a love, or that lovingness. That is what really it is. And that everybody craves this love is an irony when that love resides as you, when that love is very much accessible to you, when the debris of all the strong preferences and prejudices have to be extricated, have to be removed, and that love, which is a self-shining love, just shines. This is what it is. This is what we say. If we look at, you'll have to just give me a little leeway to do a Vedantic interpretation of the Bible, if I may. And so if we look at the Bible, in the beginning there was word, and that word is knowledge. We also say all that was there is Satchidananda, all knowing, all knowledge was there. Sadeva Somya idamagre asit. Idamagre, in the beginning, before all manifestation took place, the knowledge of this Jagat was there. The knowledge of the know-how was there. In the beginning there was word. Word was with God, non-separate from God. That's why it is changed a little bit to say, nay, the word was God. That knowledge is Bhagavan. That from this knowledge everything comes. And this knowledge is inhering every name and form in the universe. Every name, every form is untouched. Nothing is untouched by this knowledge which rests in a conscious being. And therefore in the Bible, the people that were living in paradise, Adam, Eve, Adam also, you can have a Sanskrit derivation. Adi Maha, the first one, the first man. Adi Maha, a clean Sanskrit word. Very interesting, I find. So this Adi Maha / Adam was living, Eve was living, and then they were told by the Lord to enjoy paradise, but not eat from one particular tree, which was the tree of knowledge. The fruit of the tree of knowledge is forbidden. This is a head-scratching moment, because why should the fruit of the tree of knowledge be forbidden when everything is all knowledge, and I have to be one with this knowledge that one is an unconditionally loving being, and that there is only one being, and I am just a manifestation of that being. If I have to understand that, why should I be deprived and bereft of this knowledge? It is on the face of it, it makes no sense whatsoever. But then when I put on the lens of Vedanta, I see something else. Because knowledge is not karma phala. Knowledge is not a fruit of action. The knowledge of the I cannot be gained by action. The knowledge of the I is gained through the teaching, because it is basically, it's already there. It is Svata Siddha, the I which is free of the strife, pains, sorrows, and the I that is free of raga and dvesha, strong preferences and prejudices, the I that is not embroiled in samsara, in this world of becoming something or the other. That is an established fact. It has to be discovered. There is nothing to do in order to produce the I. The I, being infinite, is not a product. And so if you treat the knowledge of this I as a product, that is why it is forbidden, because you'll never get anywhere. That's why the puja becomes rote. That is why any kind of chanting, it can become very rote, because one treats it as an action. And then when one is addicted to action, one is addicted to the results of action. This knowledge of the I as this glorious being, which is non-separate from the Lord, is not a fruit of action. And Adam and Eve, thanks to the serpent, which is Maya. In the Hindu tradition, the Maya is the serpent, really. Thanks to the serpent, were misled. Maya here is avidya, self-ignorance. So the serpent tells them to eat the apple from the tree of knowledge, meaning they made this self-knowledge into something other than what it was. They were still continuing to strive to get something, and that striving led to more headache, more heartache, and therefore the quote-unquote banishment into the world of, from immortality they became mortals. Why? Because this knowledge was not understood properly. They treated it as a result of action. They treated it as a product that had to be to do this. Therefore, they had to be. Therefore, the Lord took pity on them and sent Avatara Jesus to teach them how to be and how to come back to their original nature. And that's why we the concept of original sin is this raga dvesha. All this papa punya, all this raga dveshas, all the fears, tears, and the unconscious mind, everything that is uninterrogated, that is not being looked at properly. This is what is the whole thing. And this has to be taken seriously, and all the preferences and the prejudices removed. This is what the Avatara taught. This is what Jesus taught. This is what Krishna taught at the very, what should I say, at the very general level I'm talking. This is what the teaching was. And he taught it bearing the cross, bearing the burden of everybody's, the collective raga dveshas. He took upon himself to transform that. And the cross is I have always been intrigued by what this cross represents, the time-space matrix. This world of duality, where we are governed by time and space, and where our own self-ignorance buys into time and space as absolute. The Veda does not take the time and space as absolute. Time is relative. Time has come from that same knowledge. The space is again a construct. It is an as though creation of this knowledge, which is the Lord. Space is relative, time is relative, yet the cross which binds us, we take it to be absolute. And therefore, the body of Christ was what? Subject to betrayal. And he was hung on the cross of space and time. The ahankara had to die at the hands, ahankara had to die to the notion of space and time in order to be resurrected back to, to seeing that one is not the body, one is not the mind, one is not the senses. So the sacrifice of Lord Christ, seen from a Vedantic lens, is basically dying to the notion of time and space. And in dying to the notion of time and space, the ego, whether it's enlightened or not, at least it is lightened of the burden of, attaching itself, to clinging to everything finite. That is why that resurrection to immortality, which is a possibility for everybody. So the cross is not literal. The cross is just representing everything that is finite, and this time-space matrix when you die to the notion of being strangulated by time and space, you awaken to a reality unto which everybody else is asleep, says the Bhagavad Gita. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Second chapter towards the end. That which is the night for all beings, in that night the person of self-knowledge is aware. And then that which that reality unto which all the beings are awake, unto that reality the jnani, the person of knowledge, is snoring fast asleep, is not even aware of that reality. So there are two orders of reality that are spoken of here. One is represented by the cross, the time-space matrix, into which all the other people, they take it to be absolute. Oh my God, I don't have time. OMG, I need more space. And I need more time. I have to have time. Not don't have this, don't have that. Scarcity mentality sets in when you take time and space to be absolute. And that's why with the romantic poets, they lamented no time to stand and stare, no time to look at the cows, no time. There is one, ode to leisure, very nice poem. And so this is what the whole thing is. It takes a poet who sees things slightly differently to remind one that the time and space are not absolute. And this coronavirus, which I call the Karuna virus, this virus of compassion, really this whole year it has taught us this. It has taught us to simply sit still in order to wage a war against it. This is the new avatara. And for Kali Yuga, we need avatars like this, which are all pervasive and which have a fundamental transformation. It has created a fundamental transformation in our lives. Time has come to a standstill. What do I have to do today? Sit still. What do I have to do tomorrow? Sit still. And I have to be away from everything else in order to understand the truth of my own nature, in order to just be. This is something which is so beautiful, so beautiful. And then, the dying to the notion of time and space as absolute governors of my being, is the key here. This is the truth of Vedanta. This is what Vedanta teaches, is that time and space are relative, and the ahankara, the I notion, is sacrificed at the altar of this time and space in order for this jiva to alter itself. This is what the whole thing is. This is the message of Vedanta. And if we look at the life of Jesus Christ from the Vedantic lens, this is what you see. The resurrection, etc. If we take it literally, it may or may not make sense. It could just be a bhavana. It could just be something for people to have a sense. But it is more prudent, in my view, to take it metaphorically and to see where religion ends, spirituality converges with all, because there is only one. There is one being. And that being is a knowing being. And that being is non-separate from you. And there is only one thing to know. And to be in touch with that knowing being as the truth of myself is the message of Vedanta. And it is indeed the message of all saints and sages. And in closing, I would like to say one more thing I would like to say, is that the message given by the saints and sages such as Jesus Christ and avatars is not that we are different from you. That is not the message, even though later on we don't think of it like that. We don't say that, we see that there is a big distance between these saintly bodies that we worship, these saintly bodies, minds, these saintly incarnations that we worship, and oneself. There seems to be a big distance, but that is not what they taught. What they taught was that there is no difference between you and me. I know and you may be in the process of knowing. That's the only difference. The only difference between the person who has come as an avatara of Bhagavan and between a regular person who is striving and who wants this knowledge, who wants to give up the striving, is that one has self knowledge and the other one is self ignorant. That self ignorance can be dropped because it is a superimposition on this I that is free of self ignorance. And what ensues is there is no difference at all. That is why the message of Vedanta is to brazenly say, you are Ishvara, you are the Lord, you are one with the Lord. So that which separates you from the Lord is self-ignorance, and the self-ignorance is a superimposition, as it were, on the I that has by mistake erroneously identified with everything finite, yet has the craving to be infinite. So in order to be branded a saint, we don't need a certificate from the Vatican or any other body, this one is a saint. We don't need that. It is very evident. The saint doesn't need to be called a saint because the saint has dropped that desire. And other people also need not, need a stamp of some authority, some religious authority to call that person a saint. Everybody is drawn to the person. Even a few people who are drawn to the person considers that person a source of inspiration and considers that person capable of bringing out their own holiness. That is enough. And that is why we need lots of saints. We cannot have some kind of exclusive avatara. Everybody is taught in Vedanta to grow into the avatara that one can be. There is a potential to grow, and on this holy day my prayer is for everyone to grow into the best that they were meant to grow into the best that they can be on the relative level, to find the purpose in life and to connect with that with a spirit of devotion, surrender and sacrifice, and on the absolute level for everybody to know that one is never away, never separate from the Lord. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat. And if there are, I don't know how long I have spoken. I don't know if I have taken up too much time. But if there is time, people can ask questions if there is time. If not, that is also okay.
Swamini, thank you so much. There certainly could be time for questions if there are some.
Yeah, you can please unmute yourself, and you can ask the question. That will go a little quicker. You can do that if you like. Or you can type in the chat pod. That also is another option. Yes, I'm glad your heart is full, and that is what it's meant to be. Wonderful. Is there an analogy for the tree of knowledge? Yeah, the tree of knowledge is Shruti, Smriti, Purana. This is all the holy revelations. That is the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge is the is the teachings, and you cannot make the teachings into a product. That is what the whole thing is. It's not a product, it is you. You cannot strive to make the teaching into this apple or this. It is forbidden to make the knowledge of the infinite into a product. That is what is forbidden. Yeah. And when we do that, we are plummeted into samsara. A sense of finitude that one wishes that was not there. Thank you again. Thank you to all the Swamis of the Shivananda Ashram for having me. And then nice to see Hasuji after a long time. I have known her for so many decades. Very, very nice. Wonderful.
Swamini, thank you for joining us and gracing our special evening, and we look forward to hearing from you again tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow it is, what is it? Yoga of objectivity. If objectivity were an asana, how to accomplish it? What parts have to come together? That is what we will see tomorrow. Okay? I can hardly wait. Please take care. Enjoy the evening. Om Tat Sat.
Om, om, om.
Is there arati or something now?
Yes,
Can I stay for that?
please do.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Arti. So Swami Vishishtananda will do the arti. So we'll stand. Oh yeah, okay. So we'll do the Om Trambakam first.
Hôm nay thứ xong rồi
Tepat pangmaimiram rajayin.
mình có miếng
Trayambakam yajamahe sukandim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityor mukshyamamritat Om Trayambakam yajamahe sukandim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityor mukshyamamritat Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugandim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mrityor mukshyamamritat Om Sarvesham Svastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu Makaschid Dukapak Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamurachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om Bolo Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Bolo Shri Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Please stand now for the Arati.